Hello, grade sixes. How are you all? As you can tell, it's nighttime in Lethbridge, and I'm doing a late night recording of our next novel, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. Now, if you've already read this book, please just zip your lip, throw the key out, and don't ruin it for someone else. If you have read it, you know it's a wonderful novel and written by a very talented author, Kate D. Camillo, and we will talk about some of her other books when we're all together again. What I'm going to do is switch to the document camera so that I can show you some pictures, and as we go I'll be asking you some questions that I want you to answer in Tuesday's private messages, exactly the way you did in Mondays when you answered the question about the name of the schools for social, and you also had to tell me one other thing. Escapes my memory for the moment. Anyways, so please answer the questions I ask in private comments. I'm going to switch to the document camera now. Alrighty, so here's the first picture that we come to in the book, guys and ladies, and I want you to take a look. There's a chair with something sitting in it. Question number 1. What do you think is sitting in this chair based on what you can see of this item? Okay, so question number 1 in private comments. Then we're going to skip ahead to this intro to chapter 1, and we can see that there is probably a person, a young person, holding an item. And if any of you have ever seen one, it might have been your grandfather's or your grandmother's maybe, and this is called a pocket watch. Question number 2, what is the character on the intro for chapter 1 holding on to? So that's question number 2, that being a pocket watch. Here we go, listening carefully. Once in a house on Egypt Street there lived a rabbit who was made almost entirely of china. He had china arms and china legs, china paws and a china head, a china torso and a china nose. His arms and legs were jointed and joined by wire so that his china elbows and china knees could be bent, giving him much freedom of movement. His ears were made of real rabbit fur, and beneath the fur there were strong bendable wires which allowed the ears to be arranged into poses that reflected the rabbit's mood, jaunty, tired, full of ennui. His tail, too, was made of real rabbit fur, and was fluffy and soft and well-shaped. Question number 3, guys and ladies. What 2 parts of this rabbit are made of real fur? So we have his ears and his tail. So question number 3 has 2 parts to the answer. The rabbit's name was Edward Tulane, and he was tall. He measured almost 3 feet from the tip of his ears to the tip of his feet. His eyes were painted a penetrating and intelligent blue. In all, Edward Tulane felt himself to be an exceptional specimen. Only his whiskers gave him pause. They were long and elegant, as they should be, but they were of uncertain origin, meaning they did not know where they came from. Edward felt quite strongly that they were not the whiskers of a rabbit. Whom the whiskers had belonged to initially, what unsavory animal, was a question that Edward could not bear to consider for too long, and so he did not. He preferred as a rule not to think unpleasant thoughts. Edward's mistress was a 10-year-old, dark-haired girl named Abilene Tulane, who thought almost as highly of Edward as Edward thought of himself. Each morning after she dressed herself for school, Abilene dressed Edward. The china rabbit was in possession of an extraordinary wardrobe composed of handmade silk suits, custom shoes fashioned from the finest leather and designed specifically for his rabbit feet, and a wide array of hats equipped with holes so that they could fit easily over Edward's large and expressive ears. Each pair of well-cut pants had a small pocket for Edward's gold pocket watch. Abilene wound this watch for him each morning. Question number 4. Who wound the watch each morning? And this watch being the one we had seen in the intro to chapter 1. Who wound the watch? Abilene wound this watch. Now, Edward, she said to him after she was done winding the watch, when the big hand is on the 12 and the little hand is on the 3, I will come home to you. She placed Edward on a chair in the dining room and positioned the chair so that Edward was looking out the window and could see the path that led up to the Tulane front door. Abilene balanced the watch on his left leg. She kissed the tip of his ears and then left, and Edward spent the day staring out at Egypt Street, listening to the tick of his watch and waiting. Of all the seasons of the year, the rabbit most preferred winter, for the sun set early then, and the dining room windows became dark, and Edward could see his own reflection in the glass. And what a reflection it was! What an elegant figure he cut! Edward never ceased to be amazed at his own fineness. In the evening, Edward sat at the dining room table with the other members of the Tulane family. Abilene, her mother and father, and Abilene's grandmother, who was called Pellegrina. True, Edward's ears barely cleared the tabletop, and true also, he spent the duration of the meal staring straight ahead at nothing but the bright and blinding white of the tablecloth. But he was there, a rabbit at the table. Abilene's parents found it charming that Abilene considered Edward real, and that she sometimes requested that a phrase or story be repeated because Edward had not heard it. Papa, Abilene would say, I'm afraid that Edward didn't catch that last bit. Abilene's father would then turn in the direction of Abilene's ears and speak slowly, repeating what he had just said for the benefit of the china rabbit. Edward pretended, out of courtesy to Abilene, to listen, but in truth he was not very interested in what people had to say, and also he did not care for Abilene's parents and their condescending manner toward him. All adults, in fact, condescended to him. Only Abilene's grandmother spoke to him as Abilene did, as one equal to another. Pellegrina was very old. She had a large, sharp nose and bright black eyes that shone like dark stars. It was Pellegrina who was responsible for Edward's existence. It was she who had commissioned his making, she who had ordered his silk suits and his pocket watch, his jaunty hats and his bendable ears, his fine leather shoes and his jointed arms and legs, all from a master craftsman in her native France. It was Pellegrina who had given him as a gift to Abilene on her 7th birthday. It was also Pellegrina who came each night to tuck Abilene into her bed and Edward into his. Will you tell us a story, Pellegrina? Abilene asked her grandmother each night. Not tonight, lady, said Pellegrina. When? asked Abilene. What night? Soon, said Pellegrina. Soon there will be a story. And then she turned off the light, and Edward and Abilene lay in the dark of the bedroom. I love you, Edward, Abilene said each night, after Pellegrina had left. She said those words, and then she waited, almost as if she expected Edward to say something in return. Edward said nothing. He said nothing because, of course, he could not speak. He lay in his small bed next to Abilene's large one. He stared up at the ceiling and listened to the sound of her breath, entering and leaving her body, knowing that soon she would be asleep. Because Edward's eyes were painted on and he could not close them, he was always awake. Sometimes if Abilene put him into his bed on his side instead of on his back, he could see through the cracks in the curtains and out into the dark night. On clear nights the stars shone, and their pinprick light comforted Edward in a way that he could not quite understand. Often he stared at the stars all night until the dark finally gave way to the dawn. Sorry, that wasn't very focused at the end. Alrighty, question number 5. What did Edward stare at all night in the sky? Big hint. So you have 5 questions, guys and ladies. I want you to, when you answer, you can either number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, give your 5 answers, or you can even just put the word return, put the word return, give your 5 answers. And that will show me you have listened to the recording. So, until next time, I hope you enjoyed Chapter 1, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.